It is frequently claimed by a wide variety of scholars, from evangelicals to feminists, that when Adam names Eve in Genesis 3:20, and perhaps also in Genesis 2:23, he's exerting some kind of authority over her. And this seems to be claimed because of a common perception that in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, perhaps in the ancient Near Eastern context more broadly, name-giving has an inherent connotation of domination. However, George Ramsey has done a really excellent study on name-giving in the Old Testament, and he's pointed out that yes, sometimes name-giving does indicate domination. Like when a military conquest happens, the victors rename the location. Makes sense, right? However, those instances are in the minority, and there are other instances where name-giving clearly cannot indicate a sense of authority or domination. The best example of this is in Genesis 16:13 when Hagar names God. And she uses the same naming formula that Adam uses in Genesis 3:20 when he names Eve. And Hagar calls God the God who sees her. And that's clearly an indication not of any authority that she has over God, but of God's power in seeing her and providing for her and caring for her in her time of great need. And so we need to be really careful. If we make the statement, name-giving always means this, and then there are instances where name-giving clearly does not mean that, then we cannot sustain that assumption. And I recently went to a talk by Dr. Tom Schreiner, and he made the statement that Adam's naming of Eve has a sense of authority. And I pushed back on him with this example of Hagar, and he said, context is king. And I 100% agree that context is king. In the context of Genesis 1-3, the emphasis is on the similarity and sameness between the man and the woman. There are differences. You know, the woman has to be called woman. She can't be called man. They're not interchangeable. However, that's not the emphasis of the text. And so I think it's really difficult to sustain the argument that when Adam names Eve, it has to be indicating authority. That goes against the thrust of the text, especially in 2:23, where the name he gives her is about how they are fundamentally the same in a way that cannot be said of any other creature in creation.